Hey everybody, welcome to Between Two Peers, a live stream show where the hosts, that's us, invite a guest, that's him, from around the world, known world, to answer your pressing questions about life, the universe, and everything. This week's episode is most definitely sponsored by Johnny Walker Blue Label. Buckle up because you're about to find out why. I'm your host, Tullia Alaric, also known as Mistress Sassy Seamstress. I am a Laurel from the West Kingdom, and I've been in the SCA for a long frickin' time. And I just kind of realized recently how much the SCA has actually helped me as a person to grow and be a better human being. So I'd like to continue that by trying to help bring all of that love and joy to everyone out there. And helping me in this endeavor is my lovely co-host, Danger Muppet.
Hi, I'm Danger Muppet, otherwise known as Helga. I am a knight, a pelican, and a royal peer in the West Kingdom. I have officially been playing for over half of my life, which is really weird because we did the math the other day. And I'm just going to mirror what Tullia had to say. This entire endeavor has made me realize just how much the SCA both means to me, but how much it's influenced my life, both in the modern context and in the SCA context. And so I'm glad that you all are here tonight. And our guest tonight is Ulfr Bloodfoot. I am not even trying to pronounce your last name. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Duke Ulfr Blodfotur Fallgrson, and I think much like our two hosts here, everything happening in the world has really made me realize how much I took for granted, the SCA being a big part of my life. And ironically, it's probably had me a little more involved than I have been the last couple of years because of kids and work and everything else. And so certainly I'm waiting for the world to get back to what might be a new normal that we can function again. And this has all been very energizing. So thanks for having me on and looking forward to it.
Well, thank you for joining us. So I'm going to go over the updated rules for the drinking game real quick.
Because we've added at least one rule.
Yeah, we've added at least one rule. So, the first rule is when a host or guest uses a non-SCA name for somebody else on the show. This also includes our tech crew. When Tullia mentions Duke Thorfinn, her boyfriend.
Or when Ulf mentions Duke Thorfinn, his boyfriend.
There's also that. Yeah. When someone says, before I was a peer, in my kingdom, or when I last reigned, those three, not those three stacked together, any of those three. When somebody calls for a soapbox, and when somebody uses the term spite sprinkles. And with that, we're going to roll right into the questions.
All right. So, first up is from the lovely songbird, Ciela. What made you decide on a beaver biting its own genitalia for your heraldry, Your Grace?
So when I... Well, no, this might get past the rule. So the first time I reigned,
I'm drinking
by the Herald. And okay. So I was getting a bit of flack from the Heralds, and I'd had some arms that I'd drawn up when I first joined the SCA. It's funny how when I first joined, I was that person that did everything. We had the Known World Handbook, and we read it through, and we did everything in the Known World Handbook. We made our own armor. We did our own heraldry. We everything. Made our own clothes. And now I do almost none of that. But anyways, so I had heraldry, and then I changed personas, kind of to more of a early period Norse, Danish, and it wasn't appropriate, and so I didn't really have anything. And then when I first reigned as prince, I got hassled by our heralds because they didn't have heraldry for me. And so I thought, okay, I have to do heraldry, so I'll find something that I like. And I took the giant art books, the herald, period heraldic stuff, and started flipping through them. And that just jumped out at me. And I went, it's a 14th century charge. And the lovely Countess Elizabeth helped me get it passed through the heralds. It's not passed quite like it's drawn. We had to tweak it a bit. It got bounced. But that's what I use.
So, but the beaver biting its junk, like,
yeah, sorry,
the emotional appeal.
Well, I'm Canadian, so beavers, right? And I mean, I just found it interesting, and it's supposed to be a sign of wisdom, believe it or not, because the whole thing is beavers were heavily hunted during that period, and they were hunted for their testicles. And so the idea is when you bite your testicles off, they wouldn't kill you.
So it is actually a period charge, right? It's actually a historically accurate charge, right? I think at least that's what I've been told. Yeah. So
now the argument might be they don't know if it was actually registered as that, drawn like that, but it was a period piece of art that was in some heraldic stuff, and so we kind of got it to work in the end. And then once I'd done it for a while, I was like, oh yeah, I was kind of known by that, and I had no reason to change it.
So, and if you move over slightly, I think we can see your device behind you, right? Yeah. So it looks about exactly like what you would expect it to.
I now want to be like, I just need you to send me a shield so I can ping that.
Oh my God, you could do a really good like Scythian, just kind of contorted, twisty Scythian badger. Or
I didn't get another one to add to my list, but I might have to do that now.
I think that would be hysterical and amazing.
It's been kind of fun, and actually the Heralds had a lot of fun with it. So I think after the first sort of face poem about it, I think they had a lot of fun with it. Yeah,
at least one person in our chat right now says that they were at the Herald Symposium where it was being discussed. Constantia just mentioned.
Thanks for your efforts.
Okay, well, that was edifying.
we had to ask you that one, so
yeah, that was like had to be asked right off the bat. Like we were just like, okay, what the heck?
All right, so this question comes from Mum, who is like a favorite of the West Kingdom. She is delightful.
She's a West Kingdom institution.
Yeah, pretty much. She's everybody's mom. If you could toss one thing out of the SCA, what would it be?
Oh boy, I would say if there was anything to get rid of, it would be peerage meetings.
Yeah,
I live in a principality, and I'm a knight and a pelican, and so like I sit through at least a minimum of even just going to the crown events. Forget other events that might have meetings. I'm at 8 peerage meetings a year, plus anything else, and it's soul destroying.
Yeah, that's a lot. I probably say in the West, everybody drink. The slavish adherence to tradition, a little bit of acknowledging the tradition and history of the kingdom is cool. Like, we need that. I'm not saying like throw it all out, but I'm saying like the knee-jerk reaction anytime someone needs to quote unquote change the light bulb and someone else says that light bulb hasn't been touched since it was installed May 1st, 1966. There's a lot of things that probably need updating, and you kind of have to fight through that tendency for Westerners to cleave to their tradition in kind of very unhelpful ways at times. But I mean, that's not an SCA-wide thing. That's pretty much a specifically Western thing.
I think all kingdoms have the traditional outplay on that hill.
Yeah,
and it's everywhere. You guys just have a little bit more history than everyone else. So it's
And I love it. I really do. I love our history and I love our tradition. But geez, there's some light bulbs do need to be changed. But yeah, so I'd say that's probably the one thing that I would try to nip in the bud. Maybe not eliminate entirely, but Helga.
So mine's going to be a really weird thing, and it's because it's fresh in my mind. I will be actually talking about this more in detail tomorrow. Assumed gender roles on peerage paths.
Oh, yeah. That's one.
That's something that if I could just Like, Thanos that right out of, knights are considered to be masculine, laurels are considered to be feminine. Like, and when you come into the SCA, if you're really feminine, you're kind of shoved down one road. Service-oriented people are, typically, amusingly enough, not really completely gender-oriented, but always assumed to be pushy. And so I would actually get rid of those assumed norms, because I think it would allow our culture to grow and change much more rapidly, and we wouldn't have to fight some of the weird, odd little systemic things that occur on people's paths.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, there's
my response.
I mean, I was thinking about your response, Ulfr, and I'm like, yeah, I'd nuke that too. I'd actually probably go to closer to what Kaid does and what Aidenveld does, is they have all their peerage circles outside of their main events. So they choose smaller events, and so it pulls all the peers to those smaller events to go to circle. But, like, candidates aren't discussed at Crown. Like, fighting candidates are discussed at Crown. They don't have peerage councils at Crown. It's great. Their council talks about the list that day.
I believe, from my brief time living there, they tend to only do one at an event, and they move it around. So, same thing. It'll attract the members of that order, but they also means they can put a little more time. They can dedicate it to a longer meeting. But you don't end up with a full day of meetings. Like, I remember, get your cups. The last time I reigned.
This is going to be a drunk episode.
I told Thorfinn to bring me.
It was the 12th night. And we had our first meeting of the day at, I don't know, like 8 o'clock in the morning or something, 8 or 8:30. I can't remember exactly. I had basically nonstop with very brief breaks to just, stuff food in my gob, and finished my official duties as Crown at 1 a.m. Got back to my very nice hotel suite to the party that was just wrapping up, that had apparently been very nice to celebrate our coronation that, I completely missed.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that other kingdoms do things like regional councils where, they gather virtually or in person. Now I guess it's all just virtual, to discuss candidates. And the West doesn't do that. And it makes crowns really stressful, because you're trying to pack in a full day of everything that goes into a crown tournament. And then on top of it all, when you're supposed to be tearing down Sunday morning, you've got these peerage councils that are being held that, ass crack of dawn, starting at like 8 o'clock in the morning, when no human being should ever be up if they've been partying the night before, and just going through until 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we've got to be off site by 3. So you've got a lot of stress about tearing down and packing your shit up and getting the hell off of site in time. And I just wish that we could figure out collectively how to not do that to ourselves.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think this counts as a soapbox for all of us, by the way.
Okay, soapbox.
Are we ready for question number 2?
Mm-hmm. Let us do that. Let me pull it up. All right, so this one's from Merrick. When not sitting on the throne, what strategies do you use to mentor those around you, whether a formal student or someone you believe in? So if you don't have like the, platform of being king or queen, or prince and princess, how do you mentor people without that sort of influence and platform of that?
I guess I've ended up doing it a bit unintentionally. So my particular, in terms of service, I've kind of done 2 main things. One is using my professional background in technology, and I spent 5 years, something like that, as a Kingdom Web Minister, 5 or 6 years, 5 years. I'm still on the web team, and I was the Principality Web Minister for a while. And I might be doing some work society-wide on stuff, and so I'm able to mentor some people in regards to that. And I also have stewarded a lot of events, both in Ontier, and I did a couple in Drakenwald. And so I find that a really useful one. And my approach there is try to replace myself. So like, we've done a couple of crowns now the last few years, and we're planning another one. But that one, I very much want us to be kind of the shadow crew and have sort of the next batch of people mostly run the show. And so that way, in terms of being a knight, I'm probably not very good at it. I was really excited to fight more this year and get to practice and stuff. Practice is not a thing that the last, I don't know, close to 15 years I've really ever made it too much. We just work travel schedules, now kids. I've got other things that, getting a pilot's license, things like that. It takes up time. But I'd like to go more, because what happens is I'll meet a guy, young fighter or a girl, and person seems interesting. Hey, I wonder if maybe they'd be interested. And before I've learned their name, they're already squired to somebody else. So, and that's not active enough.
That sounds familiar. Yeah. Helga.
This is such a complicated question. Like, I'm not drunk enough for this question yet. So strategies I use to mentor those around me, whether it's a formal student or somebody else I believe in, is just actually trying to be open to the conversation, to be available. So when it comes to fighting, like I have a group of squires that I work with that aren't my squires. Actually, they're affectionately referred to as not my squires. They have learned that if they send me video, I will do video breakdowns with them, or we'll discuss like physicality problems, or if they're recovering. I get to send a lot of people recovering from shoulder injuries. And so I actually try to let people know what I've gone through on my path, so they can then just reach out if they want to. And so by leaving myself available, I try to be one of the approachable peers. And also in cases where I'm seeing somebody struggle, I try to like quietly reach out to them to be like, hey, I see that you're struggling with this thing. Would you like help? Because eventually one of the things all of us as peers have to do is replace ourselves. We don't have to formally replace ourselves. We can replace ourselves in bits and pieces and parts in hundreds of people, or down to one person. And so you don't have to take formal students to replace yourself, but you do need to put your knowledge out there so somebody else can grab a hold of it and use it. And I think that's one of the jobs as a peer. And so I'm trying to do that in ways that's consumable for other people. Well, also owning my shit.
So I've never reigned or sat on any kind of regional hot seat, I guess. So answering it from that angle, that's going to be a little tricky for me. But I think I would say, trying to put myself in those shoes, that really connecting with people and being available, just being available to talk. I only can imagine, not having done it myself, but having watched many, 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 many people I know reign, it's really, really hard to have that meaningful connection with people while you're, trying to take care of all the other business that goes on at an event while you're king or queen, prince, princess, whatever. And so being able to just be available would seem like that's kind of the thing. Like, okay, I'm approachable now. Let's sit down and chat. Let's have a 30-minute conversation where before I couldn't manage a 30-second conversation. So that would be mine. Just try to be available. I could be completely wrong, but that's kind of what I try to do now.
I was about to say, you do it awesome.
Yeah,
kiss your ass a little bit on the show.
One does one's humble best.
I might have to add a rule in there: whenever a host kisses another host's ass, drink.
Oh, come on. That's going to be nothing. I mean, come on. Honestly, Araya, for those watching who do not know, I'm sorry, I said Araya. Shit, I said it twice. Here we go. For those who do not know Helga and I in person, there's been a long-standing, no, you're the prettiest. No, you're the prettiest. No, you're the prettiest. No, you're the prettiest. Like that level of ridiculousness between us. So that's going to be a drinking game. It's going to be like everybody gets drunk. So
yeah. All right, are we ready for the next one?
Yeah, let's do the next one. This
one actually comes from me, and it was with a discussion with Tullia on it. The SCA is changing rapidly when it comes to how how it is dealing with individuals' actions online and at events. What are your opinions on how the thinning of the veil is affecting the SCA and the mundane world?
Well, I think that you want to talk about a complex question, but I think it's both unfortunate in the sense that we're having to deal with this a lot more, but it's completely necessary. And I think it's going to be a painful thing that in the long run will make us a stronger organization, just because it's been very easy to ignore a lot of bad behavior and a lot of people getting hurt because it wasn't visible. And now we can't hide from it. And so, of course, it's uncomfortable, and of course, it's painful. And of course, we would all prefer we weren't having to deal with it. But if the option is ignoring people getting hurt, then that's not an option. So, certainly that's something in the past as a royal I've had to deal with, as a seneschal, the officer I've had to deal with. And it sucks. But, and I applaud those, especially at the higher levels, the kingdom seneschals and the society seneschalates, the hard work they're putting in to deal with this, because it can't be any fun at all. But it's absolutely necessary.
This is a topic that kind of keeps coming up, and I think it's going to continually come up throughout the shelter-in-place, quarantine, COVID world that we live in right now, because all of our interaction is limited to the online interactions that we have every day. And because social media is now the beast that it is in everyone's life. I mean, I would think I was looking at stats for Facebook now. And so there's 7-8 billion people on the planet right now. How many people now? I think 6 billion of them have Facebook accounts. Ridiculous amount. But maybe not that many, but a lot of the human population is now on Facebook. And Facebook, so I'm the social media officer for the West Kingdom, and I've actually had to take a break from Facebook because the toxicity that exists on that platform is not good for one's mental health. And so it's been a little challenging to maintain my own personal boundaries surrounding that. But to actually specifically address the question, because everyone has this megaphone now that is social media, and primarily Facebook, because that's where most of the SCA community congregates. Online is really people show their ass way too easily online. While things can go under the radar for a lot longer when you're just strictly interacting in person, it's so easy to just turn on that megaphone and start spewing all your bullshit everywhere. And I've done it. I've copped to the fact that I have not had the best filter about, my personal opinions about things, be that whatever they are. And that's probably colored a few people's perception of me as a peer, as a person, and that's fair, So my opinion of the thinning of the veil is it allows us to identify the really problematic people in ways that we really weren't able to do before. And, where people can behave in public because of social pressure to toe the line societally for whatever is the, considered acceptable behavior. Also, when people are in person with one another, there's less likely for someone to say something super offensive, not saying that it doesn't happen. And then there's also less likely that somebody hearing it is going to call them on it because they don't want to rock the boat or be confrontational or create a scene. So a lot of that behavior kind of got allowed for a long time. And it's getting harder and harder now, though, when we're all sort of on this weird, almost level playing field where social media comes into it. And we are all just spewing out the thoughts that come into our head at rapid fire without even really thinking about the ramifications of what they are. And so, yeah, some good has come of it for sure. It has actually made it easier to identify very not great personalities that probably have gone undetected for a long time. but it's also, so I have a hard time not going like down the Orwellian route with it, being like, so where does this stop? Like, where does this all logically end up? And I haven't really figured that question out yet. So stay tuned for Tullia's thoughts on, Orwellian dystopian society.
All right. I'm just going to point out this is probably going to be a soapbox for me. So be prepared. I'm super happy about the thinning of the veil. And there's a couple reasons why. If you're a jackass, I want to know. And I want to know so I can keep my friends safe from you. And this is where we're gonna go into a little bit of a rabbit hole, and then we're gonna go right back to the question. I don't believe everybody should be peers, and it's the hard line, because I believe that once you become a peer, it's not really completely a game anymore. You can choose to walk away, but you need to walk away in every aspect. Don't sit behind a keyboard, decide that you're a peer behind a keyboard, and then be like, oh, but I don't play in the SCA anymore. I got a huge fucking problem with that. But when you become a peer, you're actually swearing an oath to protect everybody. And if you're choosing to be a peer online, that still maintains. And if any of your other media touches that, well, guess what? You still need to maintain that you're a peer. You still have to comport yourself in that way. And social media has given us a window into people. And this is my weird soapbox. I have a marketing degree. I have an economics degree and a background in business. You want to know what Facebook is? It's nothing but a damn billboard that you write yourself. It's not a diary that you write your terrible thoughts down in and then you close and you stick on a desk and nobody can ever see it and oh my god, somebody stole it off your desk and that should be personal and private. If you post it on the internet, you are marketing yourself and you are marketing yourself that way. And we all got away with it being treated like a diary for way too long. And everybody should probably wake up in the fact that it's never going to change. We have the internet. People are going to talk on the internet. Believe them. Believe them when they out themselves as assholes. And there's a lot of gray area people where you don't have to agree with them, and you don't have to ostracize them because you don't agree with them. But if they show that they're a racist asshole or they're a sexist, I'm actually going to believe them. And so I'm really happy that the thinning of the veil has happened because I know exactly who I should avoid and who I should not deal with or have my friends deal with. And they do it all for free. I don't have to hunt it around and be shocked when I find out. I can just go check their Facebook. So I think I'm going to count that as a soapbox, but sure. I'm perfectly fine with it because the assholes out themselves.
I think the key phrase of everything you said there is when someone tells you who they are, believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yep.
And when there's no consequences, they'll tell you who they are really, really fast.
Yep.
And it's actually, amusingly enough, it's one of the things that if I have a potential student that I'm actually going to be in a fealty relationship with, we go on a super long car ride, and then I'm going to see how they deal with service staff when they are tired, hungry, and they don't actually have to be polite to somebody. Because that's going to tell you a lot about somebody really, really fast. Yep. When there are no consequences to your actions, do you still choose to be kind? Do you still choose to make sure that you're not making somebody else's day shit? The same rule goes for the internet.
Yeah, don't be a dick. It's Will Wheaton's law. Come on. All right, next question. Ready to move on?
I'm just like, oh god, I haven't even looked at like the comments coming up with my.
Basically, it's just people agreeing with you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That one could be bad. We could totally lose viewers over that one.
I really don't think so. I mean, sure, we could lose viewers, but in reality, would you rather be standing on the right side of history in this case, like, or losing a couple of followers?
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, if you're an asshole and you out yourself, sorry, my bad. You don't put on your regalia for a weekend and suddenly become a nice fucking person.
No, you really don't. And that's the other thing, too, is that it goes back to that question we've posed and discussed on numerous shows about, whether or not there's a difference in who you are as a peer versus not, in your mundane life, or if there's a difference between your SCA persona and your mundane self. And Helga and I are very firmly on that side of there's no difference, nor should there be, like, because you're really yourself. You just have the way we play it this game is that we're really ourselves, just with different names and wearing different clothes. But like we're essentially supposed to be kind of at core who we are. And the idea that a title or is a performance only for like one venue, that just weirds me out. I can't wrap my brain around it. Maybe I'm just so method. Like I'm so method, I have to actually feel my peerage in my heart, you know, like. But I take those words seriously. I take that oath of fealty really fucking seriously, and I take it so seriously that I do apply it in the real world in real interactions with people that aren't in the SCA, have no idea what it is, and would probably never come to an SCA event. But I still like to think that I at least accord them the same basic courtesies that I do with people in the SCA, based on, you know, that oath of fealty that I gave to my kingdom, but it's really kind of in my brain, just humanity. Just it's sort of the basic tenets of don't be a dick. Again,
don't be a dick, you'll take care of each other, defend the people when they're defenseless. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And learn when to shut up.
I'm bad at that one.
I never learned that.
I know. Suck at that one. That's always going to be, everyone is always like, so what part of the fealty oath in the West Kingdom? We use the kind of a slightly modified version of, was it The Lord of the Rings? Speak and be silent, to do and to let be, to et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, and it's always, they're always like, what part do you struggle with? And everybody's always like, the silent part. To speak is really easy. To shut the fuck up, really hard.
Not my forte.
What's that?
Not my forte.
Yeah. I pretty much nobody sitting here tonight, I think, is really good at the shutting up part.
Nope, I was actually in a situation where I should have shut up sooner today.
Oh man, no, that's me every day though. There's always a situation of shit, I should have shut up.
So, ready for the next question?
Fire away.
Ready. All right, this is from Anonymous. What is a time that you judged someone off a first impression and you were totally wrong? Can be funny or serious.
Oh, jeez. I think, wow. If one of you has someone you on the top of your head, go fire away.
Okay, so I've got a funny one. Actually, our guest tonight. Well, when I first met you, I don't know if you were having a super grumpy day or what, like whatever, but I met you and it was just like, holy crap, this dude is a jackass. Like, and I can't even remember what it was, but like, we ran into each other like later on. I think it was at a West Ontario War or something like that. And I was just like, because my first impression was like, stay away from that dude, Jesus Christ. And then I met you again and I was like, this is a completely different human than my first interaction. Maybe I'll try again. And so then I was like, okay, cool. And then my little shy self kicked in and I was just like, I'm the fuck out. And then we ended up hanging out at a war where I was just on the outskirts and you're sitting there bullshitting and telling stories and you're this big lively character. I'm like, yep, I was totally wrong. My bad. I actually like this dude. He's also much more intelligent than he originally came across as. Yeah, we'll keep that one.
It's not something that people pick up on right away.
Angry dumb stick jock. Great.
I swear to God, yours is like verbatim my story about Thorfinn. We can all drink about that. Drake. No, my and also Ulf, honestly, like the first moment I met you, I was just smitten with you. I thought you were the neatest person ever. So completely opposite experience.
Well, I don't know if somebody pissed him off on field or something like that, but literally my first impression was just like,
so I remember
human.
I remember running into him at a West Ontario. I think that was the first time we'd ever like been officially introduced to each other. And I know that we definitely had hung out like probably the night before or something around the campfire drinking and whatnot. But the next day it was during Grand Court and we were sitting kind of in the way back. I just have this vague recollection of you with your baby, Angus, who was just, freshly hatched basically at this point. He was real small. And talking to you and just being like, God damn, this guy is super charming. I like this dude, And then many years later, come to find out there's this whole history with you and like so many of my friends that I didn't even realize at the time, and like the extensiveness of all of that. But my I was wrong judgment was definitely when I first met Thorfinn. I was 19, and he was Bard of, or I was Bard of Sinagua, stepping down as Bard of Sinagua, and he was stepping up as Prince of Sinagua. And he was the hottest shit you have ever seen in his 14th century, and long hair, and he just was so cool. And I remember like walking up to him. I had to do some piece of business in his first court. To transition the office over to the incoming bard, and I was trying to ask him a question, and he's just like, "What do you want?" Like he was such a jerk. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is the guy that everybody says is the coolest guy ever, and he's just such a tool. Like, And for years, I thought that, like, just everyone was like, "Oh my God, you should go hang out with Thorfinn. He's so cool and have so much fun." And I was always like, "That douchebag, no." And then many, many, many years later, we're talking like over 10 years later, like I start to hang out with a similar group that his friend group was part of, and so our friend group started kind of merging. And I started like hanging out more with him, and I was like, "Oh, he really is. He's funny, and he's sassy and witty, and has all these like great stories all the time, and is just a cool person to hang out with." And then slowly over the next successive several years, we became really good friends, and then best friends, and then next thing you know, we're dating, and that's where we are in our phase of life now. So it's been like a 25-year development from that guy's a douchebag to I am madly in love with this person. The world's slowest Pride and Prejudice is what I've identified it as.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. So I think mine it's actually the reverse. The one that comes to mind the most was someone who I held, and I'm not going to get into names, but someone who was in the first sort of household I was part of, and they were someone I really looked up to. They were very much a notable person and fighter and all this, and then just were an absolute dick to me later on, around when I got knighted, and even after that, and so I just very quickly referring back to like when someone shows you who they are, believe them, and I was like, yeah, this person's a dick. I'm just okay. Took me a lot of years to figure that out, but it's okay.
Yeah. That happens too, that people aren't who you think they are. All right, now that everybody's razzed me enough times for talking about my boyfriend, shut up, I hate you all.
You love us.
I do, in fact, love you guys, but shall we move to the next question?
Please.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh my God, why do I get the ones with like Yusuf?
Yisfel. Isfel?
Yeah. Have you ever conceded the point, political, combative, whatever, when you knew you were in the right?
Oh, all the time. I mean, I've been married a long time, so certainly I get a lot of practice there.
What? She is never wrong. You take that back.
But I think also just and I'm not very good at it. I would like to point out that I can get very pedantic about completely irrelevant things, and I'll definitely take a fight further than it needs to go a lot of times. But there are times where it's like, okay, this fine, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm moving on. Probably not as often as I should, but yeah. And I think when we talk about it in a more serious sense, that comes up in the essay a lot, and it comes up. You can, there's so many things that are interactions that happen that aren't important. And we can turn them into fights and squabbles and political things, or just, the analogy I'll use, you don't have to swing at every pitch in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
You can just let it sail on by, and it's a practice for me to try to get better at that. But I like to think slowly I am.
I think that, I was going to say, I think that kind of ties into the be silent. that we were just discussing. I have absolutely just given up the argument on when I know that it's basically winning points. It's not a point game. I'm not going to change this person's mind about whatever it is that they're locked in on. So might as well just write it off and walk away, and let them think that they won that argument. If that gives them a little bit of like I did it, go them, whatever. They're still wrong. I know it. I know in my soul, with every fiber of my being, that they're wrong, but I can be gracious and let them have it. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, life is about compromise, and what the definition of compromise is. Nobody's happy. It's like two people trying to come to a compromise and nobody's happy with the end result. But life is like that. So it's all about whatever causes the least strife in any sort of interaction that you have with somebody, specifically, people you care about. So, and yeah, I do think that that's been something throughout my life that I've done a few times, or several more than a few times. But I'm not really sure I can name instances, because it's one of those moments where my brain is really weird this way. Like sometimes certain specific instances like that just won't get recorded in the memory banks. It'll just be like, well, done, poof, gone. And I have a hard time like conjuring up a specific example. Helga.
So I'll go with we'll go with political, combative, whatever. So political, I will concede the point or concede the argument when I realize that somebody is in an extremist mindset or too emotional to have the conversation. Because that's just how you actually reinforce somebody's behaviors.
Yeah.
And so if they're really dug down into their emotions, it's like telling a woman who's pissed off, "Oh, just be calm about it." And you're like,
fucking love it when people say that.
Thanks very much. Now, fuck the calm. I'm nuking you. It's the same thing with any time that something becomes more emotionally invested than actually like logically pointed, that I'll start conceding the point, because either you need to concede enough to get them back to a logical mindset so you can go back to having a conversation, or just walk the fuck away and go have a beer. Like, just do it for your own sanity. Combat, actually, I have conceded a crown final, not a crown finals, but a crown list fight that 100% should have been mine. 7 flat snaps, 3 wraps, and 5 leg shots later. And it was the ugliest fight of my life, and it was the calmest that I have ever been. It was actually a turning point in my fighting career, because I realized there's no way I could kill him. I could not kill this person. I couldn't hit them hard enough, so it just turned into like, how many times can I hit you before his tip brushed my grill? And I was like, I'm the fuck out, and fell over. And so that was definitely a point where I conceded. I could have stayed there, and I could have like tried to bear down, and like, it didn't matter how ugly I would have gotten in that fight. I still would have felt in the right. And I probably would have been, like, by the populace given the right of the fight after how just terrible it was. But instead, I just walk away. Like, whatever. I get the emotional victory of everybody asking you, did you feel any of those? And watching the dude limp off the field. Where I was like, none of those leg shots were good, huh? Whoops. My bad, motherfucker.
I admire the hell out of that. That's... I once saw Duke Kuhn in a tournament fight at Penzik yield the fight, and I wish I could remember the words now, but he had clearly struck his opponent a number of times, a large number of times, and wasn't getting anywhere. And so he made a very flowery speech that to anyone who wasn't maybe wasn't a fighter or hadn't seen the fight, whatever, didn't understand completely what was going on, was very eloquent and ceded the fight to their opponent who had bested them. But to anyone who knew what was going on, it was sort of a double-barreled. I wish I could do that, because my usual reaction in the past, and I've had a number of fights like that where I felt I probably didn't get the result I should have, has usually been to storm off. I once chucked my helmet 30 yards into a field. That was not a high point.
Wow.
But at least it was a while ago. I try to not do that as much anymore.
So I have a hell of a temper. Actually, amusingly enough, I believe Tullia has actually seen me start to bridge from where I'm like, oh, I'm annoyed with this situation to I'm gonna go break somebody's fingers one at a time. And so I learned very young that either I get in fist fights or I learn how to negotiate. And so in the fighting arena, you're never allowed to get to the fist fight point. So I just go to negotiation, and the negotiation is I'm gonna keep my honor and face fuck yours.
I think that's the fighting version of Spite Sprinkles. It's pretty good.
I wish in the moment I could, the discipline you have in that, but I get pissed off. I'm afraid.
Well, just imagine the pissed off. It's like literally, I'm just gonna hate fuck your honor with mine.
I like that. I really do. That's vivid and yeah, it's good.
Right where the Lady of the Lake comes in.
Lady of the Lake, her arm clad in the purest shimmering samite.
Oh,
I
here
can
we
do
go. You ready for this one?
it.
Favorite dirty joke?
So I once got kicked out of a trivia night at a pub. What the hell? Okay, you go first. My memory is not what it used to be.
So I suck at command, give me a joke, right now. I suck at that. I can't do it. But I will say that any joke that involves a penis is hysterical. So, because penises are funny. Sorry guys. They're funny.
So I suck at dirty jokes. However, I'm really good at turning anything you say into a sexual innuendo. So especially if I'm on a roll and somebody's just talking and I'll just look at them and be like, are we not doing phrasing anymore? Because it really sounds like you're talking about vagina right now. Or, oh, that's a dick choking joke. And it'll just start falling out of my face. So I've been, I make parties really awkward, especially when I'm bored. Because somebody will say something, I'll be like, did you really mean to talk about fucking her? Because, this is how I heard it. And then I'll just turn the entire party against the one person to, start getting all the jokes rolling. So I have no favorite dirty joke, but I really, really like just, fucking with people and turning everything into, you're talking about dick. And then as soon as you get your mind on it, they can't stop. It's this weird little Pavlov thing that you can do to them, and all of a sudden everything is a dick joke, and they will just get redder and redder and redder, and then, eventually scramble.
That's true. Helga makes things weird.
I do make things weird all the time.
I remember the joke I got kicked out for, and I'm not comfortable with being recorded on the internet.
Okay, so we're not going to...
But I have another one.
The aristocrats!
Since I raced back for this from a golf tournament, this is apropos. So, four buddies are out golfing, playing along. The first guy says, "God, I had to, promise to do a whole thing, clean up the yard and everything to get out here play this morning." And the second guy says, "Oh yeah, I had to promise to take the kids for the whole weekend next weekend." Third guy says, I had to put on an addition onto the house to get to be able to play out today. Fourth guy doesn't say anything, and they kind of wait and look over him and says, "So, how about you?" He says, "No, just set the alarm for 6 o'clock. Alarm went off. Smacked her on the ass. Said, 'Golf for sex.' She said, 'Sunscreen's on the counter.'" You said that'd be a good joke.
You're just supposed to answer yes both. Jesus. Put out, then get out.
Okay.
Let's move on quickly.
Nobody here is drunk enough for this right now.
That's what you just tell them. Hey, your shoes are by the door for a reason, so they're easy to find your way the fuck out.
And this is Sir Helga's love line advice time.
You want to read the next question?
Yes, go.
Please.
Oh, it's just me. We just got the 10-minute till movie sign commercial.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Giving my UK roots.
I believe Sarah, or Tullia, drink. The next question is yours.
It is mine. It is so mine. And we're going to have to drink again with this. So I'm going to do the first drink. This one comes from my boyfriend, Thorfinn. What are the differences between reigning at the principality level versus the kingdom level?
Well, there's sort of two aspects to it. First, for me, was the first time I did at the principality level, I didn't know what the hell I was doing at all. I guess that's not specifically a difference between the two, but for me it was. And then now that having done both, I think being Prince is a lot more fun. And don't get me wrong, there's some experiences you get to do as Crown that are unforgettable and fantastic. But as Prince or Princess, you really get to do all the fun stuff, and anything nasty, poof, goes bounces straight out past you up to the Crown and the Kingdom Seneschal. So you really generally, unless you insert yourself into it, don't have to deal with the kind of unpleasant side. Whereas as Crown, some have it harder than others, but generally almost everyone has to deal with at least a couple of things that are really unfortunate. And so I'd say that's the biggest difference. I mean, everything else is the same. Sure, the Crown gets to make peers that the Coronet doesn't. It's a different set of awards, but it's all the same kind of thing. It's fun-wise, I would say the Coronet is probably better.
Can I interrupt just a quick second, because I believe Thorfinn is upstairs listening to this. But there has been a request in the chat to have Thorfinn come down here and answer his own question. And I can't answer that question. So Helga, if you want to take over answering, I'll go upstairs and see if I can rustle up a Thorfinn and down here.
Either that or we can hold it over for when he's on the show.
There you go.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Up to you. Flip a coin.
I don't know. We're getting a lot of people that are saying just haul him down here. So
go haul him down real quick and you answer his question.
Be right back.
So to answer the question, difference between reigning at principality level versus kingdom level, I will say that I loved being princess. It was really, really fun. It was actually it was really renewing for me because I got to interact with a lot of our newcomers all the time. Anton and I started the Newcomers Project in the West Kingdom, and that just took off. And we had so many artisans help, and it's continuing today. And it's spread to a bunch of other kingdoms now, which is really, really cool to watch. But it was really renewing because it gave me a fresh perspective, and a perspective that I had lost, of like what it was like to see the dream firsthand and be there and out. And it was just this giant rodeo the entire time because I got to reign with my Wonder Twin, and it was amazing. Also, it was great that when something totally went wrong, we could just kick it upstairs. Pink. Yep, congratulations, Mom and Dad, your problem. And we actually had a relatively problem-free principality reign. Everything went really smoothly. We had a lot of fun doing it. So, and then the kingdom, I will actually say that I want to speak to the amount of support we got while we reigned at a kingdom level was amazing. I loved a bunch of the interactions and the traveling I got to do. I am not good as queen. I am a business manager as queen. All the problems you need to deal with. Also, we had 2 hell reigns where just everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And I just want to speak to the amazing generosity of our court and our staff and everything else like that. None of you guys were the reason why I really am not sure if I ever want to be queen again. I'll be princess in a heartbeat. I think that would be super fun. And I loved that job, queen. I'm a business manager. I turned that right into, I was working 80 hours a week. It was 40 hours at my job and then 40 hours for the kingdom.
I was there for it. It was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, you were, of course.
I was, for your second reign, yeah. But that's only because your actual head of court got upgraded to crown princess, and everybody had kind of a crisis at that point.
Oops.
Yeah.
Kira, who is reigning right now, told me, she's like, I can still be head of court. And I was like, you're fired. Fuck off.
Yeah. No.
Like, I love you. I can do this by myself. We got this. You need to go be crown princess.
And then Helga was like, I'll just do it myself. And I'm like, I'm watching her Monday morning in the office, like hands trembling as
I've got
she's
my coffee,
coffee, and she's like 1 second away from like tears. I can tell they're coming, and I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, I could do this. I could be I could do my own court, everything, and be queen and all that. And I'm like, no, I'll take the court organizational shit, and you could just handle being the queen part. So, and that's how that happened.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, oh look, hey kiddo. All right, so we dragged a Thorfinn in on this.
Yeah, what are you guys up to?
Well, we were
your question.
Oh, I don't.
What's he's like, I don't even remember anymore. What's better, being prince or king?
Better? That wasn't the question. But
really? What was the question?
How
are the differences between reigning? Yeah.
I'll tell you. I think that I agree with Ulf a lot. That it's more fun to be prince, because I describe them as kind of like being the grandparents of royalty. You get to give out, chookies and gifts to all the kids and play with everybody. But if anything bad happens, the parents have to deal with it, right? You just hand it off to them, and so that's actually, it's really nice. But I guess the difference would be that I think that you don't really learn as prince and princess really how much the king and queen have to do, and how the hard decisions which just blow right past you as prince and princess. And so while both are cool, I think that it's probably more fun to be a prince and princess. But also, I got to tell you, I did 2 different principalities, and they were very different creatures altogether. So
also, in the West, okay,
yeah.
Our principality reigns are 6 months. Our kingdom reigns are only 4 months, and so you automatically get a longer time on the principality thrones.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just wanted to see how Ulf, when I posed that question, how his experience went. But I'm sure.
Well, and I'd like to point out that certainly for me, and I suspect for just about everyone else in a similar situation, I certainly did not feel that until I'd done both. When I think like many people, I'd been prince, but I still really wanted to be king.
Right. Yeah. No, for real.
About doing it. It's not that it's not fun. I don't want to come off with that impression.
Exactly.
It's being crowned is absolutely a blast. It's just different, and you have some things you have to deal with that don't really come up as prince.
Yeah.
Didn't you have to be assassinated?
I had to be assassinated once. It was great.
I've been killed a few times. Yeah.
Hey, it was great to see you guys, and I will let you guys finish your show.
Okay, babe.
Thanks for including me.
Love you, baby. Have fun. Bye, guys. Bye, him. Bye. Bye. All right. So that was my answer, because I don't have an answer. So there you go. All right, we're gonna do movie time. Commercial is coming up, and this is getting ready for it. 3.
Between Two Peers proudly presents Merkheim Horde. Merkheim Horde offers high-quality, handmade Viking Age jewelry. All items are made individually and not mass-produced. Woven chains are woven in choices of sterling silver, fine silver, and 14-karat gold filled wire, and they can be custom-made to your desired length. Arm rings are made in bronze and can be made to your desired size. Merkheim Horde strives to deliver the highest customer service available. We offer repairs for any items that suffer damage, and if repair is not an option, a replacement will be made. Be sure to visit their website. That website is merkheimhorde.com or facebook.com/merkheimhorde. Are you an SCA, fair, or LARP merchant? Since COVID-19 has hit and we've had to stay in place, so many events have been canceled. How do you make a buck? How do you keep your product going? How do you get the attention of all those people that are doing nothing now? The answer is to place an ad with Between Two Peers. You can supply us with images and copy, and we'll take care of your ad, or you can make your own. To get started, message one of the ladies from the show or message one of the tech crew. We want to get you out there. We want to promote your product. Thanks for listening. Between Two Peers proudly presents Murkheim Horde. Murkheim Horde offers high-quality, handmade Viking Age jewelry. All items are made individually and not mass-produced. Woven chains are woven in choices of sterling silver, fine silver, and 14-karat gold filled wire, and they can be custom-made to your desired length. Arm rings are made in bronze and can be made to your desired size. Murkheim Horde strives to deliver the highest customer service available. We offer repairs for any items that suffer damage, and if repair is not an option, a replacement will be made. Be sure to visit their website. That website is murkheimhorde.com or facebook.com/murkheimhorde. Are you an SCA, fair, or LARP merchant? Since COVID-19 has hit and we've had to stay in place, so many events have been canceled. How do you make a buck? How do you keep your product going? How do you get the attention of all those people that are doing nothing now? The answer is to place an ad with Between Two Peers. You can supply us with images and copy, and we'll take care of your ad, or you can make your own. To get started, message one of the ladies from the show or message one of the tech crew. We want to get you out there. We want to promote your product. Thanks for listening.
Well, we ran the commercials twice, and Tullia is still not back. She might have gotten lost or is getting a second drink. So, you get bullshitting time with Ulf and I. So, actually, amusingly enough, Ulf, you have gotten my first impression of you, which was totally wrong. What was your first impression of me?
So, I think it was the first time I remember interacting with you, Dan Degree, was actually at Great Western War. And you came off as this just very rough and tumble, because like you gotten hurt, but you were still going like a little Energizer Bunny, and I think it was you were at the time you were still doing like the farm stuff and the horse stuff, and so I was like, okay, don't mess with this person, because she will leave me bloodied and pulped in the corner.
I was kind of like dealing with a hyena with thumbs for many years.
It wasn't a bad first impression. It was just okay, danger.
Small, angry creature. Just stay over there.
Now I'm curious, what were your first impressions of me?
So I believe the first time we interacted in degree was when Thorfinn was crown prince.
Mm-hmm.
And you were very overworked and running around.
Yeah, the last time.
you were very overworked and running around like a dingbat, basically. And so it was, I was like, wow, this person is really giving it their all, because you were just a little bundle of running around and working.
That was a really boring.
And I didn't really get to know you until much later, when it was away from events and stuff, and we got to sort of spend time socially. And so you were sort of this busy working person until much later, and then it was like, oh, you're fine.
That was my first time ever actually doing being head of court that reign, and I really didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And I think second time around I was a lot more like, okay, it's all going to be what it is. Just it's stage management. That's all it really is. Make sure the people need to be where they need to be, and if something gets fucked up, just laugh about it. Don't freak.
You just stumbled upon one of the biggest things that both people running courts and royals need to remember, and of course I never remember it myself, but it's good advice even if I ignore it, is just roll with it, because everybody's there to have a good time.
Yep.
And when you hose something up, if you just roll with it and don't trip over yourselves, everyone's just going to roll with it with you.
As Jonah would say, don't trip on your own dick.
Yeah, someone might back at camp later or something go, oh, did you see an Ulf this ridiculously stupid thing, which is a phrase that comes up a lot, but nobody's going to take it too serious. And they go, oh yeah, but then we had a good time. So just don't freak out.
Yeah, that was it. And that's kind of that reign was really stressful though, for a number of reasons that we won't get into. And I think that was feeding a lot of my insecurity about like not really knowing what I was doing or thinking I didn't really know what I was doing. In reality, I probably was doing just fine and didn't need to dial the intensity to 11 all the time. But yeah, that was a big learning experience for me for sure. So Helga, what did you think when you first saw me?
Wait, do you really want this answer on recorded?
Yeah, I don't care.
One that you were way too smart to hang out with. Fuck, are you hot? And I want to stick you in my pocket. I walked by you and went, hard no, that's trouble right there, because I would break that. And want to. Shit, I'm out.
Oh, you think you would? It would really break who?
I'd give it a good college try, and at that point I was in college and I was ripped, so it would be a hell of a college try.
I remember when the first time I ran into, you were always kind of around. You were a kid in my brain at the time, and because you were literally a kid at the time. You were in your teens, I think, or early 20s. You were really young, and I remember thinking I always liked your smile and your enthusiasm, and so whenever I saw you places, I was like, oh, there goes that fun-looking person. And it wasn't until many years later that, actually, I think I just came up to you at a Crown tournament, and you were just gotten off the field, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna say it. I really like watching you fight. You are a really fun person to watch fight.
I remember I fangirled on you like an idiot.
Yeah. So that kind of goes into the next question, or what's the fangirl question that we could throw in?
I've loaded that one later down the list.
Okay, so we'll get back to that, but it was sort of that moment.
So
Doozy.
Question 8 comes from Tiny.
Yeah.
What is your favorite memory of the last war you attended in the before times?
Ugh, the before time.
What was the last war I attended? Nothing this year. Last year I went to, might have been Ontario West. So I didn't do. So I'll roll with that since that's the last thing I can remember. Funny story. So the one before that definitely was Gulf Wars, and it wasn't the best one I've ever had, because we had this great boys trip lined up, me and three buddies here from Ontario, and we all had themed shirts. We all had Muppet shirts. It was fantastic, and we all flew down together. And we get there, we get arranged, we get out to the event, and we're all set to have a good time. And my wife had a health thing, so I had to turn around. I was there for less than 24 hours. My armor never came out of the armor bag, came home. But Ontario West War, which is always a blast. I think my favorite thing with that, this last time would be a bit different, because it actually probably wasn't necessarily at the war, if that's allowed. We traveled down, myself, my son, and a good a friend of ours, Isabella. And at one point we stopped on this big beach, an Oregon dune beach, and just watching my kid try to kill himself in the waves and on these big sand dunes and everything was what I needed at that moment. I was having some stressful stuff with work and everything, and just this crazy 5-year-old running around like a dingbat in the sand was really what I needed. That was, but at the war itself, well, as usual, it's almost always going to involve Thorfinn. I've got some good memories from that clown at Ontario West.
Well, we're gonna, you can put a pin in that, because actually one of the questions coming up specifically pertains to that topic. So, so I guess my favorite memory of the last war I was at Estrella, and actually, Estrella was weird. Like, I've only been twice. This was the second time I went. The first time was a bajillion years before that, and I never really think of Estrella as kind of like a fun war for a non-fighter, because I'm a non-fighter, so it's always been like either oppressively hot or just raining all the time. And I'm just either way not happy, like uncomfortable in some form. And this time it was the raining all the time form of the two extremes. And my bedding got wet, so we're in our tent in the middle of the night. We have a Viking tent, and the bed's on the floor. So the whole night I was actually just like worried that rainwater, because it was raining so hard, that rainwater was going to creep under it. And I'd heard the horror stories about the year before, and Helga still has a visible facial tick from 2019.
There is times where if there is rain on a pavilion, I will unconsciously, and also I've confirmed this with the lead thing, I will unconsciously take my hand and like jam it down to the floor and be like, is there water in my fucking
what I was doing.
And then I will go back to
that was exactly what I was doing that whole night. And I was checking to make sure, and it was staying dry. Everything was great. We were luckily camped in an area away from the West Camp, where apparently is just like this, giant like puddle that forms when it rains. So we were on a little bit of higher ground, and sure enough, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, it's really close to actual, getting up time for me. But I noticed that my corner of the bed, since I'm sleeping next to the wall, has started getting wet. And it's like we have a little foam mattress, and it's starting to suck up the water like crazy. And so we frantically rearrange everything and kind of settle back down again and fall asleep for a little while, but the water just keeps kind of creeping in. And so Thorfinn and I, we wake up at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we kind of just sat up and we're like, fuck this, we're out. We got in the car and we drove into kind of the nearest townish area in the middle of, kind of the outskirts of Phoenix. And now I'm blanking on the name of this little town. It was a really cool little town. They had a really cool downtown scene with like all these really great restaurants. There was a fabulous speakeasy that was there. And so we get a hotel room, and we just decide to like hang out in this little town and, eat and drink and be merry and have a great time. And that was probably my favorite memory, was us just being like, fuck it, we're out. And then,
yeah, I'll be honest. I stopped going to Australia about 8 or 9 years ago, after 2 or 3 years in a row of it turning into Swamp Fest. And the last one I went was, I'm sure people remember this. We're out there fighting, I think on Saturday, if memory serves. And then all of a sudden this big dust storm comes up, and windstorm, and basically knocks half the tents at the event down, followed 20 minutes thereafter by torrential downpour. And now I'd flown in, I'd been on a work trip somewhere, and I'd flown in. So I had this little cheap dome tent, which I don't normally camp in, I hate. But in that particular instance, it was fine. And everyone's beautiful pavilions were on the ground, covered in mud. And like I remember, Rat got stuck. He wanted to go home. He packed up, and he just wanted to go home. He was at the end of his tether, and he couldn't get out because he was stuck in the mud. And it was just, and the merchants couldn't, like it was just a giant mud pit in merchants. So I was like, I stopped going, and I should give it another chance, because I had so many good memories from Australia. I went to 10 in a row or something like that, or more.
I don't. It's like PTSD the whole way. I cannot do that. And that was the thing. Thorfinn and I even had a conversation about it on the drive home, where we're just both like, if it's going to be like this going forward, because it was 2 years in a row of really bad rains, like, come on. Either they've got to like shift the calendar around so it happens at another time in the year when it's not torrential rain, potential, which means it'll probably be hot as fuck, which is also my not favorite type of thing. And or it's got to shift to another site or something, because otherwise we were like, we'll probably just go to Gulf Wars next year. So
yeah, for me, it's also I'll probably be able to fit that in again once I can start taking my kids to, either take the kids to the wars, or they're old enough to get shipped off with grandparents or aunts and uncles or something, so that it's not just leaving all the kids at home with my wife by herself, because
that's no fun.
It's fine for me.
Yeah, well, no fun for her.
Not fun for her.
Okay, Helga, what's your favorite?
So actually, the last war that I attended was Estrella. It rained. We don't fight on Saturday. But I think my favorite memory, and this is a totally weird, selfish memory, but whatever, was walking into Merchant's Row. So a huge group of my friends decided to pay into a pool because I had broken my helmet. We fixed it. But I was starting to not trust the helmet, which means that I was starting to kind of make excuses and start to save up money to go get a new helmet. Well, all of them got together and got a huge pool of money together and were like, Dongal, here's this thing. She wants this helmet. Well, and I get in there, and so they've got this all plotted and planned out, and I put the helmet on my head, and I didn't realize it at the time that Dongal's look was, fuck, it doesn't fit. Because it didn't fit right. It didn't fit how my head was shaped and how it was shaped. Beautiful, just absolutely stunning helmet, exactly what I wanted.
She had literally pulled up the webpage the week before and was like, Tullia, this is the thing, this is what I want.
Yeah. And so I truck out of there, and then all of a sudden all of them, because a big group of them were there, we were out shopping, and they had put this all together, they're all shopping, so they're trying to talk to me, going back into Dongal's pavilion and be like, you need to try on the other helmets, you need to do this thing, meow. And so I finally, we make a circuit around Merchants, and then it's already pouring rain. We're not doing that anymore. And then, so Dongal had the copper top helmet there that I was just like, I can't put that on my head, because if I put that on my head, I'm putting it on a credit card. That's how it is. And finally, Dongal talks me into it, and everybody else is just put the helmet on, just put the fucking helmet on, because Dongal at this point is really sure that's the one that's going to fit my head. It fits perfect. It fits he absolutely took every measurement off my head and made that helmet for me. And I'm like, okay, cool. I got to go walk back to camp so I can decide. I need to walk away from this thing, and then I'm going to walk back and I'm going to decide if I'm going to spend this much money on a helmet. And Dongal's like, you don't have to worry about that. Actually, it's yours. So I end up crying like an absolute bitch on camera and photographs just into this helmet. And then Liz, who is Queen of Aidenbelt at that time and still is, because forever reigning, hands me the list, and there's 25 people on that list that paid in anywhere from $10 all the way to up to a couple $100, and I don't know who paid what, because they won't tell me that amount. I don't care. But to have so many of my friends come together and give me that gift. And so every time I fight, I'm carrying all of them with me. I'm carrying all that generosity with me, and it's a thing of generosity that I try to live up to in my actions for other people. And so I try to take that as an example in my SCA life, and then continue to have that, to give that back out. Because if I can do that for somebody else, or I can arrange that for somebody else, fuck yes, I will in a heartbeat, because I know what it meant to me. And so I want to pass that on. And so that's one of the coolest moments at a war in the before times.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, let's go to the next question. All right, this is from Angus. Ulfr? Angus, I got that part. What do you feel peers could be doing at events to highlight and support those who are not peers? Uh-oh, he's muted. You're muted. There you go.
There was a bit of screaming in the background, so I was being kind of polite.
He has 3 small monsters that live with him.
So I would say that the biggest thing is that's easy for most people to do is just be very accessible and be open and be able to recognize when people come up and are trying to broach a topic. I think we forget once we get to a position where we're peers, maybe royal peers, whatever, that there are people who really struggle to come up and start a conversation. And so we can be in the middle of something, we could have something in our head, we're going somewhere, whatever, but try to take a moment and say, okay, let's be present in this conversation. How can I help, whether it's just information or just even just talking to someone so that they feel a connection. I think that's probably the easiest thing for us to do. Be accessible and be present.
I can't really say that better. I'm also willing to be, I'll just put this out there, I'm willing to be a weaponized extrovert for somebody. So we talked about this in a previous show, that shy people occasionally need a weaponized extrovert to help promote them. I'm really happy. So one of my very dear friends in the SCA, I won't name drop him on air just in case he's a little shy, comes and hangs out with me, and he actually has signals with me of when he wants me to take him out and be all of your boundaries belong to me. Fuck off. You're in my bubble now, and we go out and we're going to party, and you're going to come drink with me, and I'm going to introduce you to all my people. And he also has other times where he'll come up to me and be I just want to quietly hang out, and I just want to, I want to debate things with you and talk. And so we've developed a relationship where I can push his boundaries for him because I am the safe person that he knows that if he goes out and drinks with me, if he goes out and hangs with me at a party or gets introduced, that I'm going to make sure he's okay. And then I'm going to make sure that even if he stumbles, I'm still there, and I'm he's with me. And I think that's actually a really good thing to do for non-peers. As peers, being available for that, to be I'm going to lend you my renown so you can be more comfortable in this conversation. And so you can join us, and you stand as an equal because, fuck it, you're mine right now. Welcome everybody, this is so-and-so. They're stuck with me right now. Please introduce yourself. And I think that that's actually one of the biggest gifts that we can give is basically being icebreakers. Introducing them to the next circle, introducing them to the next resource, introducing them to the next fighter they're going to train with, or Laurel they're going to work with, or Pell they're going to talk with. Do the thing, or Mod. Just do the thing.
Yeah, I kind of can't do better than either of those answers. But I will say that one of the things that I do try to do is to be the connection point for someone. So if I see somebody doing a cool thing, and they're doing it at a level, that is not maybe expert level or journeyman level. They're kind of still in the novice category at what they're doing, but they're clearly got a competency. One of the things that I love to do is just being oh, what you're doing is super cool. Have you talked to so-and-so? I can put you in contact with them, and make those connection points. And a lot of times, it kind of works into becoming, I don't think anybody I've ever done this with has ever ended up in a Laurel relationship with somebody, but I'm definitely happy that if I don't know the answer or I don't have the knowledge in a specific art form, I probably know someone who does. And if I don't know someone who does, I know someone who knows someone who does. I can make those connections happen. I can get and I do, it's something that happens in academia. And so my background's in academia, and that's exactly the sort of thing that you get used to doing, is making these networking connections with other researchers. And so you're doing a cool thing, and someone comes up and says, oh my God, you're doing a cool thing. Have you talked to so-and-so who's also doing something along the same lines? And then you make these collaborations, and it can be really, really affirming. And I think a lot of people think that academia, and also in the SCA, the academia version of the SCA is Laurel. They think that we're all just a bunch of ivory tower gatekeeping assholes who don't want to collaborate and don't want to share our knowledge. And I really don't think that's true. I would, maybe for every one asshole gatekeeping ivory tower Laurel that's out there, there's hundreds who just really want to geek really, really badly with you about whatever it is you're doing and are just waiting for that opportunity. So yeah, that's making the connections and making sure that people get to talk to the people that are doing other cool stuff.
All right, so we're ready for the bonus questions?
Let's do this.
Okay, bonus question. This one comes from unknown or anonymous. What's your kryptonite?
I think at the moment, helium hand is one of my problems at the minute. I've got probably too many irons in the fire, and there's things that I'll get excited about. Okay, yeah, let's do that. And they're okay, how am I gonna how am I going to fit that in? So it's, I think that's the thing that catches me the most in terms of the SCA. There's so many fun things to do, whether it's activity, service, whatever. I mean, I get excited by some of the, even, you talk about the service side of things. There's things that I would really enjoy doing. But you can't do everything, and it gets harder to do everything, especially now we have kids and all of that stuff. And so I think that's my kryptonite, is wanting to do all the things, and so I need to get better at prioritizing and picking and choosing those, so I can maybe get some of them done.
Yeah, I'd say mine is fabric. I have the most amazing fabric stash / hoard / just, it's there. I'm staring at it, but right over here, you see my eyes drift this way. It's usually because I'm looking straight at the fabric cabinets that are just all of the fabric haunting me. Like, you've been hoarding me for years and haven't used me. But yeah, my kryptonite's definitely fabric, but my the impetus, the desire to actually create right now is really hit or miss. So I've accumulated a lot of stuff and I'm not really using it, which is not good. But yeah, fabric, absolutely. Silk or wool and linen. Easily silk taffeta.
There's a good PSA we can do, is dear God, let's all, figure out all of our project stuff and, set a time frame. Because I just emptied a box and I found stuff that was a project I was working on in 1993.
Wow.
And I was like,
hey. Join the SCA.
And I was like, oh no, well, I'll just get this done. I'm like, wait. If I haven't gotten it done,
it's not happening.
In the last 27 years.
Yeah.
It's time to let that one go.
We actually did a huge clean out on projects. We had to move houses. And so we were just like, we haven't touched that project in 2 years. Out. And just bins of like stuff that was like, that's a half-finished project that's never going to be done. Like, all right, what's my kryptonite? So I'm going to do two, both of which are hilarious, like at least hilarious for me. So Hans just ran downstairs to go grab this. This would be frozen cookie dough.
Oh, girl. Yeah, I know, right?
I would like to note that I am close to a horror for it. And the best part of this is my first meeting with Hans's mom is like 3:00 in the morning. I've been to his parents' place a couple times because at that point he was living there because he was moving from Colorado back. They were finding a place. And she makes the best cookie dough. And it's always, she makes them in bags and then pre-balls them and sticks them in the freezer so she can cook like 2 or 3 cookies at a time. So she doesn't make a huge batch of cookies. She just cooks as many as she wants. I discovered the cookie dough hoard. So I am here in a little set of boy shorts and a sports bra digging through their freezer at like 3:00 in the morning when this super cute little itty bitty Jewish woman walks around the corner to me with like 1 stuffed in my mouth and 2 in my claws. And just like, and I just skittered out of the kitchen. Like, no conversation, no nothing. I met her over coffee the next morning. But that was my introduction to Hans's mom, is looking like a rat stealing a treat out of a trash can, stuffing my face with cookie dough. And since then, she's made like Araya cookie dough bags, so there's always cookie dough in the house. Like, because I like walk through the front door, give her a big hug, and then run downstairs to where their refrigerator is, and like get right into the freezer, like clockwork. And so now there's just like, she will just like make 1 or 2 in a bag and leave those on the top of the freezer, so I don't have to dig all the way through the freezer for them.
She's a good mom. Wow, that's a good mom.
Okay. Hans's mom is a saint. 1, because Hansa survived being a teenager. Which I don't know how, because if you see any of the photos around the house, if you imagine like the most angry, testosterone-filled, like 16-year-old in like any movie that you've ever seen, that's Hans. In every one of those photos, he's always like, in every photo, and he's just full of teen rage and like
mullet.
Yeah, mullet. It's weird. Like, so she's a saint, 1, because he made adulthood, and 2, because she puts up with me. Like, and I'm weird. Also, she can cook. Holy crap. The second one, what is my kryptonite? I scream like a girl over cockroaches.
Oh, I hate those. Oh God, I hate cockroaches. They're so
Fucking
gross.
hate cockroaches.
They're so gross.
Is it
Cockroaches.
bugs in general or just cockroaches?
No, just like cockroaches. Like, I deal with spiders fine and other crawly bugs, and just, like, I was a child of the dirt. Like, mud bugs, like, anything else like that doesn't bug me. I don't know why it's cockroaches. Cockroaches.
Because I have an ant story that might.
Oh, ants are awful too. I fucking hate ants. But it's mostly because there's a million of them.
So when I spent some time living in Central Africa in a little village in the middle of nowhere in the jungle. And I woke up one night and I was having a nightmare about drowning.
I don't like this story.
and I woke up and I couldn't open my eyes or something. And I kind of finally figured out I was basically, you get these ant migrations and they'd hit my house and come through my bedroom window. And I was covered head to toe in a sea of ants, like a carpet of ants. Mm-hmm. I couldn't open my eyes. They were in my ears and my mouth.
Stop! No!
So I jumped up and I got a mosquito net and I'm thrashing around. I can't see. I'm thrashing around trying to get out of my mosquito net. And I get out and we didn't running water, but I had a giant bucket, a barrel that I fed from a system on my roof. And so I dunked my head in there and got the ants out of my eyes. And I look, and there's just this sea of ants, and they were coming in one window, down across the floor, and out my front door. And so I stripped naked, got all the ants off. Luckily, they weren't biting ants. They were these little tiny, tiny ones. And I got the door open and got the ants out, and they weren't going to stop anytime soon. So I just went and slept in the other bedroom. And they were gone in the morning, and then they left. There was a few thousand dead ones in my living room. But yeah, that's my ant story.
No, bad.
So, yeah, the funny side of the cockroach thing is cockroaches make amazing fish bait, and I really like trout fishing. So I just make this high-pitched squeal, hanging on to the cockroach while hooking it, and then like throw it in. And it's like this weird emotional I win because now the cockroach is bait, but I will just make this high-pitched sound while dealing with them.
Oh my God. It's so you picked a really interesting location to move to, Helga, considering downtown San Jose is cockroach central. It is all along the creeks. Oh my God.
No, we have run into a couple cockroaches in the house, and I hunt them down.
Oh yeah,
like the little vermin they are.
And that was the thing. Like I always thought that like, oh God, I will never keep a filthy home that will invite a cockroach inside. And then I learned that like when you live in the region of San Jose where Helga and I both live in, she's about a mile away from me. There's this whole system of creeks that are like basically the neighborhoods are kind of built around, and cockroaches are just now a fucking factor of life. And they're huge. They're huge motherfuckers too. They're so but yeah, you go outside at night and it's just hundreds of them, just all the way around, and it's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing. So anyway,
I do have a good road story of I was staying in a hotel somewhere in Latin America, and I can't remember where, and I'd gotten a little bag of like tortilla chips and I'd left it open on the table in my hotel room, and I woke up to crunching.
No.
It was dark. It was pitch black. It was like crunch, crunch, crunch. And I took a second, and I suddenly figured out what it was. I went, "Oh God!" And so I didn't turn the light on. I crept quietly over, opened the balcony door, walked over, grabbed the edge of the bag, and whipped it out the balcony door, closed, and went back to bed. And so hopefully I was on about the 6th floor, so I don't know what happened to the bag full of roaches, but I did not want it in my room anymore.
Hard no. All right, we ready for the last?
Yeah, let's move on to the last one because I don't want to dwell on the icky anymore. All right. So was this mine? I guess it is. All right. So this is my question to you, Ulf. I've heard so many epic stories about you from Thorfinn. What is your epic story about Thorfinn that you tell everyone else?
Boy. So I would say that it's actually a story. The one that's my personal favorite it involves both of us, but he was particularly epic. It was from many, many, many years ago from a on-tier West war down. Some of you might remember it. I can't remember what town it was near, but it was in Oregon, and it was the Red Dust site. And it was a site where there was an incident with a cannon as well. And so we ended up, now the whole thing was there was a big party, and there was kegs of beer involved, and then there ended up being a big party at this pirate camp. And so Thorfinn his job was to monitor the kegs and make sure they got back, because we brought the kegs over. And so there's this huge party going on, and we just ended up in this endless discussion about hockey, because that kind of happens with us from time to time. And we're just sitting around a fire, kind of off to the side by ourselves. And some fellow comes up and is clearly just offended by our presence there. And Thorfinn was a knight. I was not at the time. And this guy does not like knights for whatever reason. I don't know. So he goes on and on. And Thorfinn stayed very, very cool. And it kind of went back and forth, and I could go on for a long time. But so we finally dispense of this annoying person. We rescue the beer. We drank quite a bit of it. And this is what locked him in my heart, to be honest, was this night. And so we go off, and we end up, and I should be, phrasing's important. So we end up in his tent, but we're just sitting there drinking, and he was embarrassed by my knee armor that had been fighting in that day, because I had these crappy plastic knee cops. So so he goes and he cuts his knee cops off of his armor and hands them to me. And these ugly metal, beat up, bent, all the hell things. But just the fact that this guy that I was just getting to know had just gone and cut his armor part, that he would no longer have legal armor with him at the war, and gave it to me. I was like, I love this man.
He is super generous. He will, in fact, take things off of his body and give them to people as he goes. So there's been multiple things that, have suddenly new lives with other people.
Well, and other than his unfortunate taste in hockey teams, he's fantastic. I named my son after him, so there you go.
You're right, you did. You look like you want to say something, Helga.
Don't start slamming my hockey teams.
Oh, are you a Red Wings fan?
Nope, I happen to be a Sharks fan.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody is.
It's a schizophrenic team in the NHL. I would like to note. I understand that I root for the. They're like, we're gonna play this like we're serious hockey players. Nope, we're high school league, and it's gonna go.
They've had good teams. They've just never won anything.
They just
talk to me when you've won 23 or 24 Stanley Cups.
Right.
Hey, just because I'm rooting for the underdog.
They're not really. I don't think the Sharks really count as an underdog team, though. I mean, they routinely
are.
Oh, well, this year, yeah.
This year, the Sharks are a joke. I love that. They're a joke. All right.
I have no leg in this whole thing at all. I could give two shits about hockey. I just entertain it because all my friends are really crazy about it. Oh, look at Ulf is hurt. I will say some of the funnest games I've ever watched live have been hockey games. They're fun. It appeals to my ADHD because it's really fast and things happen like that, and I don't have time to get bored like in baseball. But no, my favorite documentary is about a hockey team. So that's one of my favorite documentaries. But yeah, I don't know. So Thorfinn is a Red Wings fan, and Ulf is a Canadiens fan, and that's ne'er the twain shall meet.
I have my Canadiens hockey right here.
So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. So does anybody have any thoughts or anything else they wish to expound upon before we start pimping out other shows?
You.
Just thanks for doing this. I've really enjoyed this and other shows I've watched. It's been a really fun way of staying connected. Obviously, I miss, my friends terribly, and this is like a little taste of almost getting to hang out. And it's been really fun getting to watch the other shows and get to know people a bit better, and also see people's different experiences of the same things how they see a different side of it than I do, and that's been really enlightening. So thank you for putting. I know how much work goes in from you two and the hardworking tech crew.
Yeah,
our tech crew are rock stars.
Yeah, I don't think we would be this awesome without them, for sure. But thank you for being on the show, Ulf, and it was good to see your face, and I miss it. And when we get to hang out in the real meat space, we will sing some Stan Rogers for sure, because that's how I roll.
Now you inspired me. I feel like I need to come up with an idea for Thorfinn and I to do something like this.
Yeah, I really think that would. Okay, so
we'll talk about that after the show, because I have something actually.
I want to actually put this out, though, to the listeners or viewers out there. Would you guys be interested in a show like that, where Ulf and Thorfinn and Helga or whoever could change up, who knows, talk about shit, I don't know, fighting stuff? Whatever it is you guys fight about, or talk about.
What was it that I called it? Stick jock talk?
I like that. Stick jock talk. Nobody take that idea. It's Helga's.
Well, now we have to do it, so nobody else can have it.
Well, now we say it. Okay, so let's move into the final portion of our evening.
So other shows that we would like to give a shout out to, Ulf?
Yeah, so the one I really enjoyed, because it's been a really good one for me to people that I know as acquaintances and passing, see at wars, things like that, and get to really get inside their head, has been Sir Rifkin from Ontir has been doing her Murder of Dukes series, where just for anyone who's not familiar with it, she was going to have a quest this year to fight at least 50 dukes. With no wars happening, that wasn't going to happen. But incredibly, she very quickly pivoted. Well, then I'll interview. And then she's going to be way past 50. I think she's getting close to that already. And she has stuff scheduled all the way into September and October, I think. So, it's a really fun show. Especially, it's great for fighters, obviously, because part of it they'll talk about their experience of fighting and stuff, but also just get to know these as people and hear about their experiences. And it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Agreed. Totally tune in. She's got a Facebook page. We're going to be posting all of that for the last 2 episodes here shortly, so everybody can find those pages.
Yeah, and Rick,
you have a show you wish to talk about?
Yeah, another show that has we've been able to tune into occasionally, and it's Tuesday nights, I think at 7 or 8. Okay, I'll post the actual time and link. It's Great Fights of YouTube, or Great Fighters of YouTube, something like that. I'm blanking on the exact name right now because I'm trying to do it off the top.
It's Great Fights of YouTube.
Yeah, Great Fights of YouTube, and it's Viscount Sigifrith and Duke Alaric's collaboration, where they kind of do fighting analysis of videos of people fighting, of tournaments and things like that, and it can be really interesting. So definitely, if you like watching analysis or talking about fighting. And I actually enjoy it as a non-fighter. I actually really enjoy that kind of stuff. So I found it really interesting to watch.
So in the show that I'm going to shout out tonight is The Sisters Interview, actually, which is also another Misty show.
Yeah.
Misty and Don are doing an amazing time. It's actually very similar to the show, though much higher class. I'm just going to put that out there. And they're interviewing people from all over the known world and getting their experiences in the SCA and outside of it. And it is well put together, well thought out, and just a super good time. Get to know the other people out there. So when this is all done, you can walk up to somebody and have a conversation with them. And it's just a great show. As always, I'm going to say also go watch Askanites, because, that's our show. We always try to make sure they get a shout out. They're doing some really cool stuff and some really fun interviews. They just actually interviewed our 3 vigilants for the West Kingdom. Everybody drink. Who will someday be knighted. And then everybody saw Curious's commercial update. We are now doing commercials for merchants. Please message one of us from the show so we can help support the merchants out there. We really want to, we will lend our time for you. Because COVID's taken away all of your guys' ability to support your shops, and we want to make sure that we can be supportive and give space for our merchants out there. Please go spend money with them. There's cool stuff that you can just drink with at home all the time. All my coffee mugs are Maggie mugs. All my clear glasses are historical glassworks.
Same.
Support our merchants so when we get back, we still have them because it is their livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that, we're going to wrap up the show. I'm going to say thank you very much for tuning in. Remember to like, share, and follow. It's how we can keep going with this. And we're going to see you guys next week with our guest, Lachlan. That's going to be a rodeo. And
this one's going to be next one.
Send in those questions. Help us just harass the hell out of him. He is a delight. So thank you very much, and have a good night.
Thank you.